You can turn off your mic.
Okay. How do I do that? Let's see.
Follow Marcus Garvey today. Why can't I, follow? Come on. Follow Marcus Garvey today. Why can't I, follow? Everywhere we go, I will go. Yeah. And everything he said, oh yes it's hard. So I can die, follow him. Come on, let us follow. Follow, Marcus, yeah, why can't I, follow? He never commit no crime. He always do right. So why can't I, follow Marcus Garvey. Why can't I, follow? Come on. Follow Marcus Garvey today. Follow. He never disobey his grandmother. No. He always obey his grandfather. So why can't I follow him? Yes, we should follow. Come on, follow Marcus Garvey. Why can't I follow? We should follow. I'm ready. Do you ready? I'm waiting and hard. Yes, follow him. Come on. Let's go where we go. Let's say he was his name. Oh yes, it's hard. All right.
Yes, greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Unity and Solidarity TV. Today is Sunday, September 8th, 2024, and I am your host, Bakari Makeru. So again, if you are new to this particular channel, I kindly ask that you like and share and subscribe. Of course, hit the notification bell so that you can get updates. And of course, when you have time, feel free to visit our extensive video catalog that touches on different aspects of our African story, culture, and heritage, of course. Family, September 12th, 2024 marks the 100th birthday of the Honorable and Indomitable Amilcar Cabral, revolutionary anti-colonial freedom fighter. Naturally, we invite brothers and sisters to revisit the life and philosophy of the Honorable Amilcar Cabral and draw inspiration and much needed guidance as we continue our struggle for complete liberation. I want to also ask that persons secure a copy of some of his works, because he left a great body of works consisting of a number of speeches, which, as I said again, can truly inform our outlook, our perceptions, and how we are to respond to the colonial advances in our given space. So this particular book is very insightful. It's called Amilcar Cabral, Revolutionary Leadership in a People's War. And then we have Return to the Source, Selected Speeches of Amilcar Cabral. This is one of my favorites, actually. And we have Unity and Struggle, again, speeches and writings of Amilcar Cabral. So, of course, you can always go online, check out your favorite bookseller, right, and get you a copy and learn from the vast wisdom and experience from our dear brother, now ancestor. Also, family, if you are looking for the perfect getaway, then imagine a cozy, fully furnished 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo nestled in a hilltop, offering breathtaking views every day. Nosonios is perfect for families seeking quality time together, digital nomads, or if you are simply craving a serene work environment. And of course, it's good for expats wanting a taste of home with a touch of adventure. With the spacious bedrooms and 2 modern bathrooms, you'll have all the space and comfort you need. And of course, there is high-speed internet connection and a fully equipped kitchen. So for more information, please check out the page, Nosonio. We have a Facebook page for more information. And you can always send me a direct message via WhatsApp or my Facebook page, which is Bakari Makiru. Next, have you ever heard about Mindful Elevation Caribbean? Well, this incredible initiative is the brainchild of none other than Dr. Ramonda Hanza. Dr. Hanza is not just any expert. She's a mindfulness coach, anger management coach, yoga instructor, and author pedagogue specializing in behavior modification. Mindful Elevation Caribbean offers invaluable support for youth, adolescents, and families through counseling and workshops in areas such as Mindfulness 101, emotional regulation, building self-confidence, meditation, relational guidance, and much, much more. For more information, feel free to reach out to Dr. Hanza directly by sending her an email or direct message via Facebook at Mindful Elevation Caribbean, one word, all common letters. You can visit the YouTube channel at Mindful Elevation Caribbean, as well as the Instagram page at mindful.elevation.caribbean. Again, all common letters. And of course, while you're at it, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to Mindful Elevation's various media pages for more information. In addition to that, I want to invite persons to really consider getting in touch with Ramonda for her homemade ponche crema, which is incredibly creamy with a smooth texture with just the right amount of rum, balance, sweetness, and intense flavors. The selection includes coconut, chocolate, pistachio, and banana, of course. Of course, the price varies. So once again, we invite you to just send us a message to inquire on how you can get a bottle or two. And last but not least, family, we have to tell you about the best pastiches on the island. Yes, I said it, the best pastiches on the island. Fried to perfection, golden brown, loaded pastiches, comes in different fillings from meat to cheese to saltfish. And of course, we have our meat cheese and saltfish and spinach and cheese, of course, right? And of course, the prices vary. We have the minis, which are 75 cents, and then we have the larger size, which ranges from 150 to 250, depends on the filling, of course. So again, drop us a message if you would like to have us to cater at your next event, or maybe you just want some at home for your own pleasure. So family, Today, many people might watch you with a confused look if you told them of your intentions to visit Africa. For them, Africa is a land of savages, conflict, poverty, and disease. And my personal favorite quote, Africans do not like us and they will never accept us. In their view, Africa has nothing to offer, and instead we should focus on major cities such as Paris, Amsterdam, Florida, or London. But then again, can we blame them for thinking this way? Surely they are simply regurgitating the talking points of corporate owned media or the things they have learned in school. With me today to put a number of those myths and stereotypes to rest is none other than Brother Omowale and Professor Mark Payne, who will share some of their experience and their efforts to connect brothers and sisters in the diaspora to the continent, not only physically, but also culturally, of course, which is so very important. Kings, welcome, and thank you for accepting the invitation to be a guest on Unity and Solidarity TV.
Good morning,
Yes,
good
welcome.
morning, my good brother.
Good morning. Good morning.
I appreciate the invitation very much.
Give thanks. Give thanks. Give thanks. So, we in the Caribbean, before we have a conversation, and I'm sure it might be like that on a continent also, we always want to know who you're for, who you belong to, because we want to know who we're talking to, right? So starting with Professor Payne, right? Please introduce yourself to the family to let us know who you are.
Good morning, all. Thank you for inviting us here to have this discussion, this necessary discussion, so that we may continue to build bridges and tear down all the fences between all of us from the motherland, whether we reside on the continent, in the diaspora. Thank you very much. My name is Mark Ifegbemi Payne, which was given to us on our very first trip to the motherland in 1982. That was as part of a trip organized by students and faculty, headed by Professor Marimba Ani.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So from that point, well, before we get into the other things, let me just say the group, including Brother Omowale there, dumped me in Nigeria and went on their way to other places and afforded me the opportunity to stay for a while and to swim on back. They refused to send me a ticket back. But since I returned, I started teaching at Hunter College. It was in 1986, and they haven't managed to throw me out yet. So I'm here in front of you today.
All right. Give thanks. Give thanks. Brother Omowale.
Well, as for me, just a quick disclaimer. When you have a child and you see the potential to swim and they're afraid of the water, you dump them in. That's what happened. We had to dump him in. So, and as you see, he's still swimming. So, tough love works sometimes. Well, there was a point I used to consider myself the Caribbean man because my immediate family has so much connections throughout the Caribbean. English, French, Spanish, you name it, Dutch. I mean, immediate family. And I claimed all of them, But as I began to branch out as of 82 and travel to the continent, I really realized that we were but one part of a larger picture, as an African people in the diaspora. So that's what I claim. I mean, I don't lay claim to any single place.
True.
I think we are the combination of all our people's experiences. And, we can see that, and we see that more as we travel in different aspects of our family, whether it's St. Martin or Trinidad or, Aruba or whatever. We see different aspects, whether it's through the food or through certain habits and so on. Anytime we travel to any country, I just point to things and I say, Mark, what does that remind you of? You understand? So all the things that we do and we think are so
Common.
unique to our
Yeah.
individual island, sorry to burst your bubble, it comes from someplace even larger. And this is
Don't go too deep in that yet, because I want to explore that particular aspect, because we have to make a
so I'm just
connection.
saying that so I see myself as all of that. You understand? But I spent my earlier years in the Caribbean, but I've been here for most of my years now. So
Okay. All right, give thanks. Yeah, because I see where the conversation was going, and I know how we just get sometimes. We just want to get in everything, and then we just still miss out so much. You understand?
So much,
yeah, man, definitely. So I want to shout out some of the viewers thus far. We have Africa Caribiana Estudianal. That's my great brother from Curacao, Angelo La Cruz. Right, and of course my queen Rita Pantaflet. She says hi, my brother Omowale.
Greetings, queen.
Yes. Yeah, man. Good. So let's try to start at the beginning, right? You already touched upon it. You visited the continent in the 80s, I think you said.
In 82,
right, with a student
yes.
in the fact 82. Wow, that's the year I was born. Wow. So are you in this business or what?
Respect your elders, eh?
That's a compliment.
Listen.
Right? But
I was an infant myself.
You was what?
I was an infant myself in
There
82.
There you go. Right? So help us to understand, right? So you went with the students and the faculty, right? What was it like to reach the continent at that particular time? What was your first impression?
That's an interesting question, because we had all anticipations. We had a number of meetings prior to the departure. We had people coming in and giving lectures. There were quite a number of issues that had come up, so we thought we were prepared.
Oh,
we thought we were prepared, because we'd had lectures from Professor Marimba Ani. We had professors from Dr. John Henry Clark, who were right there on faculty. We had people coming in from other places to speak to us, people from Senegal, from all over the place. So we were armed with information. But when we got there, it was a whole nother thing.
Wow.
You got to see some of the things, but you also got to smell the smells of Africa, which is quite different. You got to see the red clay of Africa. You got to hear the sounds. And for us coming from the US, we were surrounded by people who looked like us, and people who don't have that as an issue.
Okay.
You don't know how much that makes you feel great. Here we have entire countries that are run by people that look like you. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. So, but I think leading up to that, we did have problems in turn. I don't even know if Brother Omowale remembers. We had problems getting our visas
of course,
for Nigeria in particular, and it was a long struggle. I talk about months, until one champion came to our rescue, and he knows who I'm going to talk about. Is Mama Ayeni.
But before you get into that, Mark, let me just say, because I think that's very important. When he says we were having some serious problems with securing visas and so on, and there happened to be 2 students who attended school with us from Nigeria, and their mom had, I think, attended some of the classes also, and she heard of the problems we were having, and she just stepped in and she changed everything. When I say everything, to the point where she even offered to accommodate all of us as a group in a compound, and she did. And she opened up doors that for many people would never be opened,
Wow.
and exposed us to stuff that we would have never know existed, but never had access to. And why that's important to me, one other point I want to make after that, why that was important is it really flew in the face of what we heard from so many people: the Africans don't like you, they don't see you as one of them, and all this kind of stuff. It really flew in the face of that. So before we even, embark on that sojourn, this is the kind of welcoming we were getting. And when I say accommodated all 22 of us, accommodated all of us in a compound she was just finishing building. So we were the first to literally christen this massive compound. She accommodated all of us, for our stay in Nigeria.
Wow.
And we should always remember her name. Her name is
I was just going to say that. Yes.
Auntie Lucy
Auntie Lucy
Ayeni.
Ayeni.
Lucy Anike.
Yes.
Ayeni.
Yes.
Wow.
And I can't begin to tell you how she shaped that initial view of Africa for us, and exposed.
And she not only took classes, she was a student at Hunter.
She was a student.
She did her bachelor's as well as her master's. She was in nutrition. But she did take classes in the department at that time called Black and Puerto Rican Studies, now Department of Africana and Puerto Rican Latino Studies. But she was very, very, very much aware of our plight, and then
just stepped in.
Pardon me. Got us the visas. Let me take a second here, Omowale. You continue.
Yeah, she not only got us the visas, she made sure our trip through the airport, because your trip through the airport itself could be a journey in itself.
Right.
You understand? With the expectations and the dashing and all that stuff, where the corruption comes in. But she made sure that was seamless.
Yes.
She made sure our journey from the airport in Lagos to where we stayed in a place called Ado-Ekiti was seamless. She made sure we had the driver that she knew she could rely on, so each point, you understand? So she really, really stepped in and reshaped the trip and made our experience the one thing that became a driving force in Mark and I continuing to go and continuing to make these links. We got to credit her for most of that.
Wow. Absolutely. We didn't know what a hotel in Nigeria was.
Not for one day.
Not for a moment. Our food was prepared by locally, right there in the compound. So we saw everything being prepared. We saw the hands that were making it, and it was prepared, not in a westernized kitchen, but the way the people themselves ate it.
Okay.
So we
talking about wood burning in the yard with a pot on top of it to make, tea in the morning and that cook. I mean, that's how the food was prepared. She made sure
the huge pots.
Experience.
Huge pots.
You understand? Literally everything right in front of us.
Nice.
Even to the point, I don't remember, Mark, if you remember when we had to go and wash clothes.
Yeah, right on down to the stream.
Walked us down to the stream.
Really?
And see small children carrying huge basins of water on their head
that we couldn't carry.
That grown men could not lift.
It's a little embarrassing, but it's true. It's truth, So she made sure we had an experience like none other. I mean, washing clothes by hand and in the stream and the whole 9 yards. Yeah. So
and that was the start of the journey, because just to let some people, we were in the middle of Yoruba land, and in the diaspora, most people, if they know of Africa, know of the Yoruba.
That's right.
And we went for the 2 weeks there, we went to the palaces of more than a dozen kings.
Wow.
In the area, including the king of Ife, the Ooni of Ife, which
explain what Ife is so people could understand the magnitude of that.
Yes, Ife is considered the cradle of Yoruba civilization. That is the place where the Yoruba society itself was born. It is legendary. if you read about the Yoruba, you would first read about Ile Ife.
That's right.
And we went there. I actually lived there after they, stranded me in
Left
Nigeria.
him to
But
swim.
yeah, and right. But we went there and we met with the Oni of Ife, and we were feted by them. We came in, and as a guest in any African home, you're always welcomed with food. And they prepared food for us. It was got to the point where we couldn't eat anymore. Because if you visited 2 kings or 3 kings in a
They all
day,
expect you to eat.
everybody would put food in front of you and expect you to eat.
Listen, Bakari, you talk about Grenada, right? And I've been to Grenada and I love the food.
Yeah.
But if you think that is eating, when you step home and they feed you,
Oh
Yeah.
my God. It was an astonishing journey, and it also set up one of the things that we would follow through later on, as Omowale and I were talking yesterday, and I don't know how he remembers it, but every time we talk about that, he talks about Chief Jegede and the school.
high
And you
school
see
principal.
his face lit up, as I said, and the high school principal that we visited the entire the school, and they came and greeted us, of course, with food, but the children put on traditional clothes and did their traditional dance for that specific area. So they
Okay.
had the drums, the children drumming and singing and
Traditional
dancing.
attire. But
Oh my
listen,
gosh.
Bakari, food. Listen, everybody had their version of the pot.
Yeah.
So when I telling you food, including things like kalaloo,
Okay.
that's right, kalaloo, that we think is just Trinidad and Grenada.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kalaloo.
Yeah.
Then I tell you, all the dashings and yams you could think about. I know some of you guys love your wild meat, all the wild meat you could have.
Wow.
You know, you love your pepper, like my good brother there. Pepper so hot it will burn you going in and coming out. I kid you not.
It'll burn you twice.
Twice.
But when I talk about food, I talking about spread like you don't know what. You know, and cooked by these children now,
Oh yeah.
Cooked by the children first.
Yeah.
It was an amazing experience, you know, and
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the door. That was the door that opened up to the idea of traveling, and somewhat opened us up to traveling in a group. But there are also problems when traveling with any large group.
Okay.
And the idea is that different people have different agenda.
Okay.
So, if you have a group of, 20, there must be one who's out of step with the rest of the group, and it can be very problematic. And that kind of soured me off to group travel.
Okay. Okay.
So when I returned in '86, I had a desire to travel back to Africa, and I had, made friends and connected with a number of people. And I said, "Oh yeah, I want to make this travel." My first intention was to travel to Ghana,
All right.
but the friend who I was visiting was off doing his doctorate. So he said, "Well, no, you should go contact this person and go to Gambia,
Gambia.
if as a second." So I planned to go, and I just mentioned casually to Omowale, that his eyes lit up. He said, "Well, can I accompany you?" I said, "Well, let me just make sure, because I'm traveling to someone's home. I can't say, hey, I'm here, and oh, by the way."
Yeah.
And at that time, '86, there were no cell phones. So you had to send, a letter, and the letter would go there 2 weeks, 2 weeks to come back.
Wow.
So I sent the letter, and they said, "Sure." And as soon as I said, "Sure," Omowale was down. And we've been traveling ever since then, back and forth together. Now, over the years, he's been trying to convince me, let's travel with the group. I said, "Oh, no. Sorry. I'm not doing that." So this is some 86.
Wow.
And no, I don't know what convinced me this time. Because he approached me this time in 2018, right? Had to be
2018.
2018. Yeah. I said, no. And I don't know what happened, but I said, okay. Um, I didn't have any money to travel, but I said, okay, I'll help him organize it. And we went about organizing. And it sounded good. We partnered with Trailblazer Travels, which is our travel agent,
Okay.
so that they would work out the details, some of the details. And in the middle of this year-long process, my daughter said, "Well, Daddy, get your passport ready." I said, "Well, what for?" Tell you, I'm helping Uncle Omowale put this together. I'm not going. I just don't have the money. They said, "Get your passport together." I said,
Wow.
"Please, leave me alone. Let me just do this and let these people go." They said, "Daddy, get your passport together. We're putting up the money for you to go."
Wow.
So it was because of my daughters who put the money together. That was our first trip.
As a
And where
group.
was it to? As a group, right. And where was it to, brother? Mr. Morgan?
It was to Senegal,
Yep.
Gambia, and
And
Ghana.
there you go.
The
And we look
Western
at
Seaboard.
those like the keystone places because they have a tremendous impact on us in the diaspora.
Explain that. Explain that.
Well, we find the first Africans that were taken during this modern era to both Europe and the Caribbean came out of the Senegambia. Um,
Okay.
it was the Spanish and the Portuguese, largely the Portuguese,
That's
who
right.
went to the Senegambia and pulled them out and brought them into after the Moors had been dislodged from
Europe.
Europe.
In
That's
And
right.
there's a lot of controversy in terms of why they were there. And, this, whether they invaded or did they come to assist the people there. But that's a larger story that we don't have time to delve into. But there was a lot of land that needed to be worked, and they brought these Africans from the Senegambia, the area of Senegal and the Gambia.
Okay.
Later, when they began to populate the Caribbean, the first Africans who were taken to what is now the island of Hispaniola, it's Dominican Republic and
Haiti.
Haiti, came from, they were the Ladinos, what they called the Ladinos. And these were the descendants of the Senegambian um, people whose first language now was Spanish. So they brought them to the Hispaniola, and later they went back to Senegambia and took largely a Wolof population to to Hispaniola. So that's a first point. Of course, these same people also went to Haiti, and they established quite a number of things there, along with others. Okay. So we see some links to that in Haiti with some of the stories of
Folklore.
Buki and Timalis.
Mm.
Now, Buki and Timalis are, it's almost like the rabbit and the tortoise. The tortoise and, rabbit or the hare and the tortoise type stories, which is Buki. Buki is hyena, and they have contrast that against the um, uh, um,
The fox,
no, it's in Senegal, it's the hyena versus the tortoise,
the tortoise.
right? And of course, the hyena is supposed to be very crafty, but not so much. In Haiti, Buki is not characterized as an animal, but as a fat, slovenly man who thinks he's very smart and tries to out-trick Timalis, and never happens. So we have that connection folklorically in Senegal, between Senegal and Haiti. And that connection is really, really, really very strong. Within the Anglophone Caribbean, we find that a lot of people descended from Ghana.
Yeah.
There's a castle, fort, that is built in on the coast, and people overlook it. It's a smaller fort. It's not really renovated, but Omowale and I had the fortune to visit it last year. And in the literature, they talk about the Cromanti. That was the fort where the Cromanti derived from. And these are, are largely your Maroons. So when you have names like Kwesi and Kwasi, Kwashi come to town, that comes from that particular area. When you see some of the names like Kofi, Kofi, that's Kofi. All of this comes out of Ghana. And a large number of Africans were taken from Ghana and brought into the Caribbean because they were the preferred slaves at one time, because these were very hardworking people. But what they didn't realize, they're hardworking, but they're also going to be working to get themselves free.
Yes.
And these were the rebels. These were the people.
Rebellious people.
Absolutely. So they cut it off for a while.
We're speaking about the history of Haiti and why the continued punishment.
Yes. Yes. So a lot, hard worker, that's a double-edged sword. If you're working for me, hard, that's great. But if you're working for you hard, that's not so great.
Yeah.
And so the colonizer realized that. So these three areas are extremely important in terms of the diaspora. And I would really encourage people, if they're going to go, hit 1, 2, or 3 of these areas first, and then start to head to some of the other areas.
And 2 things I want to say. In hitting those areas first, especially if you familiar with the Caribbean region, you are going to come across a number of things that you've known or you've experienced, and now you're going to be experiencing it in one way or the other in any of those 3 places. So that's why it's important. But 2 other things I want to mention. You asked initially about what our first impression was. Now, this first trip of ours in 82 was organized by students and faculty at Hunter College. So we in a college environment, higher learning, and so on and so forth. And I remember I had a geography class, loved the class, learned a lot. And one of the things in geography this woman was teaching, was a European woman. She was teaching was about, the soil and soil condition and why Africa has so much poverty and this kind of stuff. And she says, if you look at African soil, it's very red. And it's true. A lot of it is very red. And she said, this is geography on a college level now. She says, and it's so red because it contains so much iron ore that it can't sustain vegetation properly. You understand?
Wow.
No, this is me learning in college. When I reached and landed on the continent, all I was seeing was red soil. But the soil was so rich in vegetation, I couldn't understand what I learned in college from the professional and what I'm seeing. And what finally dawned on me is that's where the brainwashing begins, That's right. So all this to justify poverty, to saying the soil can't sustain the people, which is furthest from the truth. The other thing I want to kind of touch on, we were touching on before, is the person who, like I said, who made it all possible for us in Nigeria, Mother Yeni, we refer to her as. In traveling from Lagos, where we landed, to where we stayed in Ondo State, Ado Ekiti, it was quite like a day's travel, if I remember, Mark, right? It was a long ride. So on the bus, you had people from Panama, people from Jamaica, people from the US and the South. But we talking about different things, and we got into talking about foods and what we know and how we do this and so on and so forth. And one of the foods that came up was what I grew up knowing as Payne, right? Now, I all because of my friends in Jamaica and, like I say, family from different parts of the Caribbean, I also know it as Dukunu, all right? They call it, some in Jamaica call it blue drawers, and some call it, there are one or two other names for it. But so we were talking about this and how you make this and so on and laughing. And then, we reached where we were going, so we kind of put that to rest. A couple days later, Mother Yenny came and said, wake up, you sleepyheads. We got a long way ahead of us today. They prepared some foods for you guys. So wash up, let's eat, and let's start our day. So everybody got up quickly, washed up and thing. And we going out and we saw 2 big pots. And when they open it, what it is? Payne, white and yellow, wrap up in the same fig leaf, exactly as you understand? So everybody bust out laughing. So all these foods we talking about is from Panama. No, this is from Trinidad. No, this is from St. Martin, because moms, of course. And here we hit home, and you understand? So, and that was my first. Those were some of my first introductions to the continent. So when we say it was an extremely positive one, I say that without any hesitation.
Nice.
And then so the foods and so on is just one part. But as we begin to speak with as Mark is speaking about the different things, whether it's burr rabbit and so on, we saw some of the similarities. I remember I'm gonna call her sisters from Anguilla, who was part of this group, right?
Okay. And she's online now. She's listening now.
Okay.
Oh, serious?
a good sister. But I remember we were walking someplace we were wrong where we were staying one day. And we walking down the street and we passed by and they were playing some high life or something, so right? And these guys take up the bottle, a big bottle of rum, and they start carrying on. And she said, Omowale, look, you understand? The Caribbean, you understand?
Yeah.
So we think all this is just, starting with us. And when you look, you see all the habits and attitudes, come from the source. And you got to pay homage to that, So so that's why for us, this is all a homecoming.
Yeah.
So that's a special shout out to Omiyinka. So, we're highlighting your name so you're not forgotten. So
and not just Omiyinka, but she's from a family from Anguilla. So right next door to St. Martin.
Yeah, neighbor. Yeah, I'm a neighbor, man. but tell me a bit more about the Payne. Is it filled with meat or anything, or is it just
the thing is people do it differently. When we had it in Nigeria, it wasn't filled with meat. How I grew up with it in Trinidad is not filled with meat. They do the pastels with meat and minced meat and chicken and so on.
That's right.
So they call that pastels in Trinidad. But the Payne that I grew up with is the cornmeal, the coconut, some raisins, that kind of stuff. And then that's prepared, put into your banana leaf, and it's tied up with a piece of string and boiled.
That's right.
That's what I grew up, my mother grew up making in, she's from St. Martin, of course, but that's why she grew up making and, we grew up eating. And that's exactly how it was made. The only difference in Nigeria, like I said, they had the white Payne from the white corn and the yellow Payne from the yellow corn. So we had 2 choices. And it tastes the same way. Some people put more sugar than others.
That's right.
It's the exact same thing.
And what I love about it, because as you're explaining it, when I was in Antigua, they call it Ducana or something like that.
Yeah. Different
Ducana, they
variations
call
of
it,
the same name, yeah.
And of course, in Curacao, it's a different name because it's quite popular. I always enjoy that one, but it's filled with like saltfish. At least the one I get, for my darling mother-in-law. It's always filled with saltfish and such, But I love learning about those connections, and I love the fact that you would have emphasized that while we think that we are the originators, right? of a particular style or concept or ideas, right? It's only when we return home we will see the origins of it.
Yes.
You know, that's a very humbling experience, you know, because I
It's
can
very
tell you,
humbling. It's very
and I
humbling.
was telling Professor off air, when I went to Ghana, you know, persons were kind of amazed that this guy from the Caribbean came to Ghana by himself, right? They wanted to question my insanity
Just
level or something, you know. But so when I was there, I had some great brothers who took me around, and we went for lunch, and I am picking up, you know, what I know. So the sweet potato, the corn, the carrots, you know, our provisions, and they are watching me in amazement, you know. And then, but Bakari, you're being adventurous, you know. I said, adventurous. She's like, yeah, because you're picking up plantains and sweet potato, and then I'm doing this is our food. This is how we eat. You understand? So of course there was a bit like caught off guard, right? And I'm saying, look, there's no difference between my family on the continent and my family on the island. There's a continuity that has not been broken. You understand?
well, Mark could tell you one of the things that one of the unfortunate things is I have yet to learn any of our languages. And I would encourage people to learn it because it really opens up other doors for you. You know,
of course,
do whatever you can. If you know you're going to travel to learn the basic greetings, but learn some languages. I haven't done very good with that. And I'll be honest, you know. But one of the things I've learned is that on whether it's my phone or iPad or so on, I always save certain fruits from the Caribbean, the image, the name, and so on and so forth. And I was prepared. And when I travel and I begin to show people, you know, you explaining something, and I say, no, this is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
The eyes light up and it's like, you know this? Like we just came from Kenya 2 weeks ago, right?
Wait, before you go on, tell them about the sorrel.
Well, it's the same thing. Mark, I leave that for you to tell, you know? We think sorrel is a Caribbean thing.
Yeah.
We've seen it in how many different places? In Senegal, it's called among the Wolof, it's called Bissap. Among the Mandinka, it's called Wonjo.
Ghana.
Yeah, in Ghana, it's called Sobolo.
Benin.
Sobolo.
In Ghana.
Yeah. Ghana.
Same
Same thing.
In Benin.
And Benin and even Nigeria, I forget exactly the names, but it is in all of those.
But listen,
places.
Go one step further. We just came back from Kenya, Rwanda, and guess what?
It's there.
It's there as well.
It's there also.
That's right. Same sorrel. Prepared largely the same way.
Wow.
Same spices and so on. So
really?
It's ginger beer, right?
Yeah, but stop saying beer. They'll call it ginger.
Well, we say ginger beer in the Caribbean, but
yeah. But there you're going
to left to ferment.
Yes,
but the ginger, right?
Yeah.
So is in Kenya and Rwanda, we had a lot of sugar apple.
Yes.
Sugar apple.
Sugar apple. Right. Sweet sop.
In Jamaica, they call it sweet sop. I don't know what you guys call it.
No, we have sugar apple also. We have sour sop.
Sour sop.
Sour sop
prickly.
Yeah.
Prickly exterior.
Right.
Exact same fruit.
Right.
You understand? So we think everything is unique to the Caribbean, you know? And like I said, the more we branch out, like I said, this is all the way in East Africa.
Exactly.
The exact same fruits. So for me, this is a way of creating a different kind of conversation with people, how it's prepared and so on. Because when you go to West Africa, for example, you're not only getting the red sorrel, you have the white sorrel.
Right.
More
white
than that.
sorrel.
White sorrel, yes.
They also cook with the leaves of the sorrel.
Kucha.
This is a whole new education for me.
This is what I'm saying. They cook with the leaf, and they also cook with the sorrel itself. It's not just for a drink. It's cooked in with certain meals. And it flavors it.
Just hold on there. Mother Rita Pandafle, I hope you're taking notes because
Listen,
I hope my mother taking
Rita's
notes.
food is fine as it is. So don't please let her go changing anything.
No, but this is amazing. I have never heard about the white sorrel. I have never heard about
White
Yes.
sorrel.
Yes. Yes.
and they cook with it for the color, for flavor. Well, what is the specific?
Both flavor, color. They cook with both the red and the white, but both make juices from as well.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I had no idea. I mean, this is truly insightful. I gotta do more reading, on the culinary aspects of our culture. Really and truly.
As well as the medicinal part, because Cersei or Karaili is right there.
Yes.
Is right there.
Wait, hold on. Cersei is that the yellow? It's like a yellow.
It's a green vine with a yellow fruit.
You talk about the fruit. Yeah, it changes
so we call
from
it
yellow
apple.
to orange to red.
Yeah, we call it maiden apple.
Maiden apple? Okay.
Maiden apple.
What about
vine,
the leaf?
And it's bitter.
Very bitter.
Right.
Very
bitter.
So that's what we call it.
Now they use the leaf a lot in terms of bathing children and yourself.
That's right.
And all sorts of medicinal purposes.
That's right.
So as you travel again, you see it being used in the very same way. So this didn't come out of nowhere.
But Omowale, remember, in Ghana, they use it for what?
Ritual.
They use it for ritual purposes, spiritual purposes. When there was a naming ceremony, they used the leaf for that. They had it in water.
The official naming ceremony.
Yeah.
That and one other leaf. I don't know what it's called, Mark. The leaf that you can put in a book and it sprouts.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I know that one. Yeah, I know that one.
That's right. Used the same way also for bathing and in ritual and so on as well.
And even the Omowale.
The Omowale festival. That's a festival. That's a harvest festival in certain parts of Ghana.
He had strands. There was one fellow with strands, or a few people with strands
around their neck.
Yes.
Of the Karaili. And giving it to people.
Yes.
That's right. So you see people going on through this festival with a bunch of Karaili around their neck. You understand?
And all with spiritual intent. So there's a large avenue of the botanicals that we need to explore. And this last time we went to
Kenya.
That center in last year.
Okay.
We went to the herbal center.
Right.
Remember coming from the
yeah.
And they are doing research in terms of the medicinal aspects of the various plants that are found within.
So what they're doing, it's literally a center where they do treat people and so on, but they invite a lot of local herbalists to come and show how these things are used and what they use for, and they synthesize them and so on and so forth. You understand? So is that turning inward for what you already have and not looking towards the West as a solution to
correct. This is heavy. Because I am here wondering, how did those plants, right, make it to our part of the world? Because I've always learned of the stories, right, of the accounts that our forebears, they would have taken some of the seeds, put it in their hair or put it in their, just take it away to have a reminder of home. You understand? So hearing about the sorrel and the other plants, it makes me wonder, well, this could further confirm, the accounts that I've read in the past about how certain plants from Africa arrived in the Caribbean.
But also remember, as more and more of our history unfolds, history that wasn't supposed to have been known.
That's right.
We're speaking about the communication and trade with people from West Africa with the Americas before Columbus. Remember, Columbus got all the stories in terms of the existence of this new world from him sailing down the African coast. It didn't just come out of nowhere like they said. You understand? And remember those trade winds that blow from into the Caribbean and Barbados and these places, where
That's
did it
right.
flow from?
That's right.
You
That's
understand? So the linkages could have been made in numerous
before.
ways, but
Yes,
it's
yes.
not it's not solely in one single way or another, you know.
Right. Exactly. So yes, the idea of okra, for instance,
Okra.
Oh,
was one of the things that we say came through Africans taking the seeds and
mm,
on along that journey, or watermelon, for better
oh,
or for worst, yeah, being taken from Africa and uh, um,
Caribbean
into the
and
Caribbean, into the Western
Americas.
world. Yes, yes,
They
yes.
even say the same thing for Aki, you know, because
Right.
remember,
oh,
the
Right.
seed is used in different ways. People wear it in different ways. You know, people don't know the Aki is what you get the donkey eye from. You know, the donkey eye, as a boy, you take and you grind
yeah,
on the floor until it get hot and put
Yeah.
on some
yeah,
Touch
yeah.
ketchup
on
to them. That's
someone.
the
Yeah.
Aki seed.
He's telling on himself, right?
Well, I mean, it's part of it. You understand? But no. But the thing is that we don't eat Aki like that in Trinidad.
Hmm.
So I was
Mm,
surprised when they tell us that this is a fruit that people eat. And you mean that thing we just use and bun people with, and you understand? But
Hmm.
you see the
But
same
you
thing
find
used
it
in
in
different
Ghana.
places. And you find it in
mm,
Ghana and in these other places as well. You
Yeah.
know, same
wow,
Aki.
wow.
So the links are much, much deeper than we ever would have ever imagined, you know?
Mm,
And
And it's a
and
whole
and
avenue for research and study and comparisons, and something that can draw people together to have these conversations,
there you go. There you go.
and to say, well, we've taken this to a different stage, because some of the medicinal uses that they have for certain foods are different in one area or another. or
mm.
or you go, talk about Trinidad, the Shango people, and the Obi seed is right there in Nigeria. And what do they call that? Obi. That's the
Oh,
cola nut. Cola nut. It's
oh,
called Obi. They have
okay.
two different types: Obi abata and Obi banja. And banja you can only get from what I've seen, only in Nigeria, but abata is all over the place.
Regional, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So all of these different things that we see are so much connected with one another that one has to consider what are the leaks. Now, the other issue in terms of the availability of these different plants on both sides of the Atlantic is not only that, but the Pangea
Mm,
theory, where there was just one large landmass,
Landmass.
and the tectonic plates, the spreading of the tectonic plates, began to separate the continents to what we see now. And these shifts are still happening because
that's right.
The
there is
rift in
now a
East
rift
Africa.
in
Yeah.
Yes,
East
that's
Africa.
right.
The major rift opening and expanding consistently. Yeah.
And they say long after we're gone, there'll
It's
be a
gonna be an
slice of
ocean
Africa, yeah, that is
split
now
in two.
separate. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow,
So when
wow,
you
that's
take a look
amazing.
at those areas, you'll see similar
Fauna
flora,
and
flora and
animal,
fauna.
fauna,
Yes,
flora, animal life. Yeah.
yes, exactly, exactly.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it's a lot to think about.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Just before we go on, I need to shout out because I was reprimanded in the chat, you know. So I have a message here from my darling SXM Academy SBO Grand Rising. Today it is the three of us listening because I only mentioned two persons, you know, but I didn't see it when the message came in. Three of us listening. Can't wait to hear the different steps or journey to reach there in Africa. And then we have a queen watching from Gambia, Aminata Kujabi, and she says hello and gives hands up.
Yeah.
Then we have Donna Morgan. Greetings, Donna Morgan. You know, welcome, welcome, welcome. Mr. David Thomas, he said he's listening. Africa Caribiana Estudian. He gives some hearts. And my mother, my mother says that he is calling us old, and that she is taking notes,
Thank
and
you.
that
Thank
yeah,
you.
she said the same way how my mouth dropped when you start talking about the sorrel, her face dropped as well. So we all learning, you know, we
Mhm.
we all learning. But
Listen,
yes,
but I just gonna add, that's why I keep telling you, you gotta organize from your end and we
yes.
take a group because
Listen,
Yeah,
listen.
no.
We getting there. We getting there, right? Because you said something, a professor. You said something in the beginning when you talked about the preparation that you all underwent, and I love your honesty when you said that there's always one person in the group with a different motive. You understand? I
always,
I, I love that type of
always.
honesty because you're not romanticizing it. Okay,
Absolutely.
and what if someone wants to be part of the group to accompany, you all to go to the continent? What sort of preparations, let's say today, would you recommend for them?
Okay. First, I want to acknowledge two of the people who you mentioned are part of two of the people who are in our
Okay,
group. So that's brother King David Thomas
okay.
there, and well, he could mention Omowale can mention the other one.
No, Donna Morgan, of course.
The smile says it all.
Right,
And
right.
both
What happened to the smile and the
both and the thing
enthusiasm?
is, both of these people went on more than one trip with us. You understand? In fact, so there are numerous people who went on numerous trips, but in terms of who's listening, and you also failed to mention Mark Omienka, who not only
Yes,
traveled with us in '82, she also traveled with us again in
in 2019.
2019.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, so we're speaking about a history of these relationships.
nice.
And not everybody who go has a long relationship, but I'm just saying there's a thread that connects us that brings us all to this. So Mark, you can speak about some of the preparation and
Yes, I can't tell you how you might organize for yourself, but I can tell you how we began
Okay,
to organize. First is has to be a desire amongst a number of people to go. So that's one. The second one is to choose a
destination.
reliable um, travel agent who has been in the business and knows how, because to negotiate the airlines
okay,
is a headache. And
okay,
unless you have experience in that, I wouldn't suggest that you take that on yourself. So
okay,
choose a reliable travel agent like Trailblazer Travels. You can look them up online,
okay,
and they will get you there. And what the travel agent will do is to book the airlines, contact the tour guides, get the ground transportation, the hotels. These are the nuts and the bolts of that whole travel experience.
And help, and more important, help put together an itinerary based on
okay,
what the group is looking for. You know,
Right, right. So that's one stage of it, and even that has to be massaged, and we'll talk about that. But the other piece, which is really important, is for us anyway, is to have mandatory monthly orientations. This is
mm,
to begin to let people know who we
who
are,
we
what
are.
we're about, and how we plan to go about things. And it also begins to establish a culture of what we are trying to do. We talk about ourselves as ambassadors of the diaspora to the continent of Africa, because just as we've had misperceptions of Africa through the media and through our educational system, Africans have had misconceptions of us in the diaspora through the media and the educational system, which is the colonial system.
that's heavy.
So we are ambassadors, and we have to, begin to express who we are to the people who we land and dispel some of the myths. Now, I'll give you an example in terms of, and this is a digression, but I think it's important. When I was in Nigeria, I had at Hunter College, I'd studied the Yoruba language for a number of years. And of course, in the academic sense, I always got my A's and so forth. And all right, yeah, I got this. Hey, I'm good. When I landed in Nigeria and I went to the Yoruba area, I cried for about 2 months because I was lost. I was totally lost. I could make neither head nor tails of what was being said, nor nor how to respond.
Wow.
It was terrible. I said, "Oh my God, wasting my time. What is going on here?" Until I started speaking with the children. I always say the best way you can learn a language is through the children or with the children. Adults don't have time for you, and they get frustrated very easily. But the children will laugh, and then they will teach you how to
The
say it
correct way.
correctly.
Yeah.
Wow. So when I express my frustration, the children say, "Oh, Maki Jeje," they call me Maki Jeje or Ifegbemi. They said, "Oh, we're speaking our local dialect here. You are trying to speak standard Yoruba." I said, "Okay." So the little light went on, and I was able to progress at a better rate. Yoruba itself is a tone language, and I happen to be like tone deaf, so not a great fit. But it was an experience. But it began to open up doors for me, and I began to be able to um, have that type of facility with flowing in and out. And then, of course, you'd have to learn the pidgin language, which is even more accessible to so many different people.
Okay.
So those are some of the things that you have to begin to negotiate.
Just on the idea language quickly, I gotta tell a story. I remember when I was learning, you doing your schoolwork and you learning English and so on, and you learn certain things in school and so on. And I went home one day and I started correcting my mother, and she looked at me and she said, "You understand me, right?" but it's the same attitude.
It's a heavy point, yeah.
We require to learn standard English in school, but when we go home, that's not how we speak. And we have to understand those little nuances, and that's exactly what Mark is saying. So you may learn standard Yoruba, but when you go to the market and so on, that's not what not if I, thou, then. You understand? So if you're going to communicate, you got to speak to people in the language that they communicating. And I think that's essential.
That's right.
What he's saying, but essentially, what Mark is saying is, look, we usually travel in August. So from anywhere like October, we start these orientations. They're required every month, right? And the idea is to introduce people to who we are, our purpose for traveling, and so on and so forth. And this is important because, like I said, not everybody travel for the same reason. Some want to go because they see Nigeria or anywhere we go have beautiful women or men, right? And this might be their ideal time to meet somebody, which is all good. But that's not the sole reason we're going.
Yeah.
Some want to party because they hear, man, Nigeria has the best parties or this kind of stuff. Some people want to go and lay down on the beach all day, and that's all well and good, but that's not the kind of traveling we do. So it's important that people know what we do so they can say, look, this is not the kind of traveling I'm looking to do at this point. Or we can say, well, this is not the group for you at this point. You want to do X, Y, and Z instead. And that's why the orientations are important. That's one of the many reasons.
And there's no shame. There's no shame.
No, it's no shame, and it's no right or wrong.
Right.
It's just like I said, it's just that this may not be the group for you at this time.
Yeah.
You understand?
So one of the things we mentioned is that our group is geared toward cultural immersion rather than museum visits. Cultural immersion means that we interact with
the
local people,
villages, the life.
Right.
Yeah.
We go to rural communities and interact with the people. We don't stay on the air-conditioned double-decker.
So we're not going to Hilton.
No, we originally we're not doing that. We've our travel agency has tried to upgrade us to more, not
4-star
quite, yeah,
hotels.
not quite 5-star, but 4-star hotels.
But that's not
But
our aim.
our
Yeah,
requirement is safe,
correct.
clean, and affordable. That's it.
And accessible, yeah. But
Yeah,
safe, clean, affordable, accessible. That allows us to, get in and
because we're
out.
not spending a whole lot of time in the
The
Good
hotel.
point. Good
hotels.
point. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah,
And I'm just gonna say one thing. I mean, these are the things we aim towards,
right.
right? We may not always get it as we want it, but this is what we aim towards. But this is what we tell people in advance, you
Yes.
know. And like I said, we our aim is always to make it safe for the entire group, not just for one or
Yes.
two, right?
Yes.
To make it affordable, so you could spend the money on other things. To make it accessible, right?
Yeah.
So we want that security. We want it to be safe. We want it to be clean because that's part of your security. People in good health.
Mm,
We cover things like health issues also. Some of the do's and don'ts.
okay.
Things you should carry, things you shouldn't do. Certain places you don't necessarily drink the water.
What
Although some of these
vaccinations are
things, the
required?
vaccinations that are required,
What
making sure your
what
paperwork is in
medications
place.
are necessary or recommended? Going into different areas.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take the malaria
Yeah.
medication, anti-malaria medications. Which of malaria medications is preferable? So and in fact, we have a um, one of,
Checklist.
yeah, a checklist for the
Okay.
for those things. So we build a checklist for each of the countries. Oh, you're going to this particular
Oh,
country, the sockets, the electric sockets are
Are different.
A, B, C rather than D, J, E.
correct.
And what are the power requirements there? We look we tell people that we're group focused. We're group
Mm,
focused. So each one teach one. And if
okay.
one of our fellow group members is having a problem, we try to assist everybody. We all have to pitch in because each of us has his or her own issues that have to be dealt with. But if we know some of those issues, we can collectively help one another.
That's
Now,
good.
Before you
if you're
get
not
to
a group
a
person,
situation of crisis, right?
yeah, if you're not a group person, then this is not the trip for you.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And some
You know,
people are afraid to say that they're not that kind of group person. And what that ends up doing is creating some misunderstandings along the
Yes.
way. You
Yes.
understand? And this is why we try to tell people it's nothing to be ashamed about. You
right.
know,
Mm,
if this is not the kind of trip for you, then it isn't, you know. So you can save yourself that headache, you can save us that headache too. That kind of stuff. So we really try to work with people over time, but the time also gives people time to get to know each other. You
oh,
Right.
understand?
yes.
Because
Yes.
the getting to know each other may know that, look, you know what? This brother he has this medical issue and he has to have the medication at a particular time. So it would be me traveling with you and waking up, hey, Bakari, did you take such and such today?
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
It may
Yeah.
not seem like a big thing, but that could be
It is. Makes a big
exact,
impact.
and we've
Yeah.
had to deal with that. You understand?
Oh,
So we try to encourage that kind of group support. But just as important is I tell people that Mark and I work very, very, very hard creating these linkages with the guides and with people on the ground because that's what gives you access. I could come to St. Martin tomorrow and look at one of the brochures and say I want to go here, here, and here and there and be like any other tourist. But if I come and I meet a Bakari, he will say, brothers, these are the things you all may be interested in. Let's do this instead. A totally
that's
different
right.
experience.
That's
So
right.
we've been spending time, genuinely building relationships with people because that's who we are.
Yeah.
And that has enabled us to get certain access and take us into places that we would never have known existed. All right. So our thing is that, look, you coming into someone's house, we expect a particular demeanor, particular attitude. You understand? I may not share the same religious views as you, or the same political views as you, but I owe it to you to respect what you do. I'm in your
That's right.
house. You
That's
understand?
right.
Our differences we can discuss at another time or privately. That's the kind of stuff we try to foster, because these are the things that would derail a trip in a minute, especially on the continent and these places. People feel very connected and sacred about who they are and what they believe. And it's not up to you or I to question the validity or truth of their belief or practices.
That's
And
right.
these are the things that the orientations help address, so that people can minimize the amount of incidents
Friction.
there are where that could create possible conflict.
Yeah.
And
You
there
understand?
may be trips for you that address those particular things, but this is not it. So that if, we have an evangelical, and, not to slight anyone, but this is not an evangelical type of trip. And I know there are people who go on those type of things to, spread the gospel, and God bless them, but that's not this.
That's
Gotcha.
definitely not
That's
it.
not this,
Yeah.
So, and it's not a slight on anybody, but that's just what. So the idea of group focus is extremely, extremely important.
And we say that's not just, he may say evangelical, but it's the same thing with people who believe in Islam or some of the Afrocentrists. You have some people who are more Afrocentric than the Africans themselves.
Yeah.
So they want to go and tell people how to live their life and what to do and what not to do, and that's not who we are. You understand? There are things we may not agree with, but we'll have that discussion among ourselves.
Correct.
You understand? And understand we are guests in these people's homes, and we expect everyone to act as guests.
Yes.
Right. So like I said, some of these things may seem slight, but it could really envelope into something much more serious. Yeah. So we have to be very careful in terms of the kind of preparation we do. And again, not everybody's going to buy into everything, but we do our best to bring up as many ideas and open it for other people to bring up some of the ideas, so we can prepare people in advance. And that's what the orientations and discussions are about. Understanding where we're going, understanding the reason for our going, and understanding the things that it would take for us to have a safe and enlightening journey.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think that underscores the idea that we travel with a respect for local cultures. And that has to underscore everything. And if it doesn't, then we're running into some problems. And it's also beginning to destroy some of the relationships that both Omowale and myself, particularly Omowale, have struggled very hard to maintain.
Wow.
Yeah. We also discussed the realities. So for instance, a lot of the places we go, since we're kind of hands-on and we go to local villages, the villages can't come to us, so we have to go to the villages. And what does that mean? It means lengthy travel. And it can be travel over roads that
are not too friendly to the body.
Right.
Are not complete. The roads are not complete. They're not complete.
They may be complete.
According to what Bakari said, especially when it reaches to our age,
Right. And I think that's an important issue, because we've had people from the mid-40s on our trip all the way up to the 80s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the youngest person who's been on your trips?
Again, it's in the mid-40s.
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 Okay.
And the oldest is, and that's our
senior.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he's listening at this point.
No, but it's been a good thing. Listen, he's in his 80s, but he's been a trooper. And the ironic thing is he's been with us more than once.
Yes.
Oh.
The whole history is something else. But he's been a trooper, but he's more than just a trooper. We consider him that elder statesman among us. Because it's not just the age, it's about the perspective and what he offers to us as a group. That's really, really important.
Invaluable. Yes.
Yeah. So So everybody comes with something to offer. That's the other thing we let people know. You don't have to be professor, you don't have to be doctor. Everybody comes with something to offer. And once we approach it that way, we also understand that everybody we meet has something to offer.
That's right.
Exactly.
Right? So it doesn't matter what your position in life is. You know, we may meet some of the simplest people, and when they start to cook, I mean, it would bring tears to your eyes.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But the humility, and I would use that to just add one other thing. In this particular trip this year, we went to this particular village, and they were showing us different aspects of, you know, your village life.
Which country? Which country?
This was in Kenya.
Kenya, okay.
And one of the things, no, this was Rwanda, I believe, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
This was Rwanda. And one of the things they were doing is showing us how they traditionally made banana beer, right?
Banana beer.
Banana beer. And this
banana juice, banana beer, banana wine.
Banana wine. But the point is that they started with the bananas themselves and had the group join in on peeling these bananas and putting them in a large wooden, you know, vat and crushing them. And they crush it with a particular grass, using a particular grass to knead it and knead all the juice out of it. Now, we always caution people about, you know, drinking from local stuff and this kind of stuff, you know, but nothing is written in stone, right? You know, but we have to be understand that we in the West our bodies aren't familiar with certain organisms. And this is not to make it good or bad, but because of the lack of familiarity, it would have us in the bathroom for the rest of the trip. So we have to be cognizant of that. But keeping all that in mind, they did all this and they kneaded this banana with this grass and they squeezed out all this juice. And then they proceeded to pass this juice around. And out of a group of 20, 19 participated in drinking this juice. And they couldn't believe it was like you're drinking sugar. It was that sweet. This is before they then put it through the fermentation. But I'm just saying, it was that sweet, but it was also that strained. You understand? Just the juice that they get from the banana, you know, and it was an amazing experience. And no one had any incidents as a result of it. So, and that's why I'm saying that you use caution, but nothing is written in stone. But what that did is our participation opened them up to us in ways that is like, these people are really with us. You understand? And how they're looking at us. And they opened themselves up to us in ways that you would never expect. You understand? And that's where the communication really begins. That's when they give of themselves, and we give even more of ourselves. You understand? So we and this is the kind of relationships that we look to foster, because I could imagine your mom going some of these places and saying, "Boy, how they do this?" You understand? But it takes that kind of relationship for people to say, "Come in my kitchen and see how this is done," and that's what happens.
Right.
You understand?
Exactly. So it's a hands-on experience whenever possible. You know, they invited us. He's saying they invited us to participate in the making of this banana juice, which then can be fermented into banana beer, and then can be further fermented into banana wine. And then they, you know, played, you know, their local instruments, the drums, and sang, and invited us to dance with them. And, you know, it was just an all-encompassing experience.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I wish we had an opportunity to even show some of the photos and have that explanation, because it would make it even richer. But be that as it may, it was really, really very, very instructive for all of us. And we got this everywhere we went, not the banana beer specifically, but an ability to participate in the local communities.
Palm wine making, shea butter making. I mean, we can go on and on and on and on, and the experiences.
Did you go anywhere where they would have produced the cloths and the dyeing process? And that always fascinated me, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, even on our first trip to Gambia.
Gambia.
Yes.
Yeah, they did the tie and dye
Yes,
process
correct,
there.
correct.
You know,
The group participated in actually a class making the skirts and
cloth.
doing the
Yes,
tie and dye
Really?
material, and then
yes.
but
In
also
Ghana, we went to the Asante region, and we participated in the kente cloth
weaving.
production.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah. So and these again are all part and parcel of that relationship that we have, that with both the people there and as well as with our travel agent, who
Mm,
you have to communicate. This is what we want. This is what we need. And then we have further conversations with the
The
tour
guide.
guides as well. So it's a
okay.
partnership. It's absolutely a partnership. So it's really it's a large process, and again, it generally begins in October. Well, it's almost like Carnival. One Carnival ends,
The other one begins. The
the
planning for the other
preparation
one begins.
the
Literally.
preparation for the next one is, and so we're already planning for
2025.
2025, and we have a core group that travels with us every other year.
Every other year. Yeah.
Okay.
But we plan on the off years as a foundation tour, and that will be toward either Senegal and Ghana, or Senegal and Gambia, and to those
Benin.
foundational
Yeah.
places that have impacted on the diaspora.
Mm,
Yes, yeah,
okay. So you
yes.
don't have any tours in, like, let's say July?
July, no. I'm generally speaking, August is the time that I can get off of
Okay. I
yeah,
got
yeah.
you.
So it's
I
around
got
that
you.
particular point in time. There are possibilities for tours in January, but those are few and far in between. But
January, maybe
Okay.
April. Yeah. But
yeah,
that's something to be discussed, and that's something we're working towards,
right,
But because we do the other part of it is we do our own travel sometimes, and sometimes this more of a reconnaissance and
right,
connection in preparation for.
right,
So, it allows us
Okay.
to
Okay.
go and see certain places and say, this is what we want to build into the store. This is
Beforehand.
what we want to do,
Yeah.
and so on and so
right.
forth. Right.
Yeah, this year was
Yes.
unusual for us because
Neither
uh,
of us
neither one of us had been to Kenya or
to East Africa
Rwanda
before.
before.
Right.
So we were
Wow.
going blind, so to speak. Although I must say, this brother here did a yeoman's job and had extensive contact with the tour guides on the other side throughout and it's literally 9, 10, 11 months that go into the planning of it, in terms of speaking
Wow.
to the tour guides and saying, yeah, no, this is what we would rather have, this, and it all has to stay contained within a feasible budget.
Of
You want
course.
to see the world, but you don't have money to see the world. You have a
Yes.
limited amount of time, a limited amount of money, and if you do X, maybe you can't do Y and Z.
That's right.
But I'll
That's right.
add to that. I think we think of a country like the Caribbean, these small islands, and we don't understand that we're talking about covering vast areas.
Yes.
Right.
So to get from
Yes.
the
Yes. Yes.
city to a specific village may take days, or it may take hours or whatever. And I think so I think we have to approach it with that in mind, with that
Yeah.
kind of vastness in mind. So it limits how much we can cover, but it also means we have to build in the time for travel if we
That's right.
want to experience if we want to have these unique experiences
That's
within
right.
the villages themselves. We have to make that accommodation for time. So some people aren't comfortable with that. Well, I didn't come to spend 4 or 5 hours on a bus. Well, then you could travel and just stay in the city. You understand?
True.
So
True.
and folks don't necessarily understand that, but it takes time to
Yeah.
get from point A to point B. The other thing is some of these roads aren't always good. In fact, many times the roads are not good.
Right.
So you got to prepare for that discomfort, you know. But this is why the communication with the guides, you know, with
Yes,
Mark and I, is so
it's
important,
critical. Yeah,
because we really spend time trying to fine tune what is being offered and what we want, so they can identify what we want, and then identify how long it takes to get there, what kind of resources it needs, and this kind of stuff. And then we can put together a trip that is really valuable in terms of that immersive cultural experience that we're looking for. You
Yeah, and
understand?
what type of a vehicle
What type
is
of vehicle?
necessary?
All
that's
that,
true.
you know. And the one other part I will add is, I know people are sticklers for time,
Okay.
and people are sticklers for an itinerary, and I understand that. But the kind of traveling we do doesn't necessarily accommodate that, because we can say, look, this, on average, this trip may take 3 hours, but with traffic conditions and so on, it may take, or weather conditions, it may end up taking 5, right? This is what we want people to understand. But more than that, we may say, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we want to go here and there. But a day before we travel, we may get a call and say, listen, Omowale, there's a
Things change.
particular ceremony happening in this place that you all would really, really benefit from seeing. But it means that such and such has to be changed.
Yeah,
You understand? So we tell people that the schedule is always in
Tentative.
somewhat flux. It's tentative.
okay.
And some things are subject to change. You know, some things we'll discuss with you in advance, you know, but some things happen so suddenly is, look, we have to make a decision on a fly one way or the other.
Yeah,
And that's part of what we do. But we always tell people that one thing we'll say is, you'll get an experience that you wouldn't get anywhere else.
nice.
You know, and that's what we aim to do. It's really an immersive learning experience for all of us. I don't care how educated you are, how well traveled you are, it is a learning experience. Come with an open mind. You understand? And come with the understanding that we're doing this as a group. So we may be discomforted for one reason or the other as a group, but we deal with it as a group. We're going to get through it and all benefit from, you know, the
Nice.
fruits of our collective labor.
So tell me something. Tell me something. You've taken a number of persons to the continent to visit, to be part of the culture. What impact would you say have these trips made on the lives of the persons that came with you all?
I wish we could have 1 or 2 people who are on the line calling and say themselves.
Listen, I can share the link, you know.
Or let them text it in. No, seriously.
I can share the link.
To talk and say, but it's another thing for them to see themselves, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, I think Dave is a prime example for this.
Mr. Thomas, okay, I'm going to invite. I'm going to put a link.
We said, before we go on, we said that one of the driving forces behind our impetus over these years has been Mother Yeni, who really opened up, who made the trip to Nigeria possible, and we would always give her that credit. But at that time, there was a sister who was very active in the hunter community, you know, in her own way, doing education, and she couldn't go at that time. She was getting married, so she didn't go. And when she heard we were going in 2019, she was just getting through fighting with a serious bout of cancer. Ooh. And she reached out and she says, you know, Omowale, you know, I heard you guys traveling to Africa this year, and I really, really want to go. I want you to create 2 openings for myself and my partner, who's the same David Thomas we talk about. And she couldn't say for sure because she had to get cleared by her doctor to travel. Yeah. That's how serious it was. Fortunately, she was able to travel, and Dave was able to travel with her, and they had a ball of a time. I mean, and she couldn't stop thanking us for the experience and so on and so forth, because it's something she always wanted to do, you know. Unfortunately, you know, a year or 2 after she succumbed to the cancer, it kicked up again, and she since passed. But since then, David continued to travel with us.
Wonderful.
You understand? And
has been a key part of our travel.
Extremely helpful in
Very
so
supportive.
many ways. Yeah. You know, so yes, it's impacted people, and other people go back on their own. You know, they form links, and this is part of it. It's not about us. It's about people expanding their own universe and their connections and this kind of stuff. And people continue to do that. We've had people who literally sort of, we can say, adopted some children and continue to
Yes.
fund
Yeah.
them and, send funds to them and the family for school and this kind of stuff. So we have these ongoing links that keep expanding. Because again, it's not about Mark and I. It's not just about the guests or the guides. It's about us making these linkages and it's like this. It's like me coming to St. Martin for family years ago and through family member meeting your mom.
True.
You understand? And
True.
so I met you as a young boy, and here we are, how many decades later, expanding the conversation.
Yes.
And that's literally what it's about. You understand?
So there is a area in Senegal, in Fatigue, and where we were taken to and were embraced by the people there, and we kind of adopted that particular area. And of course, Emily, one of our fellow travelers, really fell in love with one of the children and just embraced her. So
and Yvonne.
And Yvonne, absolutely. No, boy, I don't want to miss her. Woo, that one is a tough cookie. But we've raised funds to help refurbish their school, and we've done that in one round. We're looking at another round coming up in October to send some funds for them to buy equipment like paint and cement and so forth
to finish the refurbishment,
so that they themselves will do the hands-on work to begin to finish it. And so those are types of things that we do. This same David Thomas talk about the impact. I think spoke to his sister. He said, let's do something. So they printed up bags and T-shirts to send to that area, which just arrived, this
couple of days ago, a week ago or so. But go further than that. The brothers on the other side, the guides, they were so impacted by Zip's presence, they started a foundation in her name.
In her name.
You understand? So the bags and so on were printed up with a name and logo for this foundation to give to X amount of school kids. And the connection was Dave, but the person who did it, his sister turned, I forgot how old, and she decided she wanted to do something different for her birthday. So she wanted to do something as in contribute in some way. And he said, well, look, this is an ideal thing. So she printed up bags, T-shirts and so on for X amount of kids. And they just shipped it over, and it just arrived. Maybe a week or a week and a half.
Yes, some time ago.
So this is the impact that we see it having, and it really impacts these children's lives. I went back. We went when the foundation was started. I went with them to visit the school because I was so in love with Fatih, and I took a bunch of bags that people had donated and so on, and we gifted them. And the children came out, the parents came out, the faculty came out. But it really let me see the condition of the schools and what was needed, a particular school. And this is what they've been working on, So as they do work, they send pictures and so on and so forth. So it's not like they say we do X, Y, and Z. You literally see the work being done. And I have pictures of the classrooms before and after some is being done. So this is the kind of impact we're talking
about. And even a well was constructed for that particular community
that we stayed in.
So they don't have to walk X amount of kilometers to get water.
Listen, I think we're going to have a second follow-up to this, because our family need to see this. Okay? We need to see this. I think it's inspiring. I think it's to the point where I need to sign up to be part of that particular movement. You understand what I'm saying? I love those type of contributions that seek to improve the quality of life of our people on the continent. Exactly. You see? Because it tells me now, it goes just, it's not just about visiting, taking pictures, a few selfies. It's about really a relationship and trying to restore a particular quality of life. So you're not just taking, you're actually giving back in so many ways, you know what I mean? And I think that's beautiful. I think that's really, really inspiring, you know?
Well,
So,
if you're going to have that, then what I would like to see is us reach out to Solo, who's on the other side, who's in Senegal,
Senegal.
to have a conversation. I don't know how good the connection will be,
okay.
and I
Well,
know
we can
he
try.
also works on Sundays, but I'm sure he might really want to have this type of conversation, and maybe Omowale and you and I can help if there is
Facilitate
some
that.
connection
Yeah.
fees
Yeah. Yeah.
that he needs to arrange.
Excellent.
But certainly
Excellent.
to have him come on and
But
have that conversation.
and so our focus has been Senegal in terms of that. But we also got to speak about our guide in Ghana, Nee, who
Oh,
has again exposed
tremendous.
us to so much. And and by the way,
Mm,
Mark, we spoke. He called me this morning just before I came online. But
Okay.
even the guides in both Rwanda and in Kenya.
Kenya.
and
And
Oh
yeah.
one
boy.
of the things we do, like I said, we visit local schools. So we were able
Mm,
to see schools in Uganda and in Kenya and in Rwanda. And it is amazing some of the things they're doing with these children. And
okay.
again, I'll emphasize that our visiting is important so that people can see that we are them and they are us,
Yeah.
and that
Mm,
the image and that we are not what they see on TV. You understand? Because that's very, very important. You know, we got to understand one thing. The Africans in the New World were taught about the Africans on the continent as savages, living in huts and all this kind of stuff. And that's the perception that people continue to have. While they were taught that the Africans who were brought here were slaves and enslaved. And so what you see is the baggage
Thugs,
and all the
pimps,
kind of
drug
nonsense that you see.
dealers. Yeah.
And this is the kind of media that's allowed over there. Now
Right.
we have
mm,
now we have access to social media, even though we don't control it. But we have an opportunity to break that cycle. And this is part of what the trips intend to do. Let them meet us for who we are. And they
correct.
realize that we are them, we are like their children. And you'll be
Correct.
surprised the embracing that happens
Mm,
with us repeatedly. You understand? But it takes time for people to understand that what they've seen on TV and grew up knowing about the Africans in the diaspora is not what represents most of us.
that's
But
So
you
right.
it's up
also
to
have to
you and
speak
I.
about Joan in particular. On this last trip is one of our. She's been with us since 2019, but was never able to
To
go.
go.
So it's this particular trip that she came with us, and she came with excess baggage. I said, "But why you do?" She
Paid the
came
weight for excess baggage with X amount of school bags full of supplies. Even though we were told we would be we would be charged for any excess bag, she said, "Look, I'm taking it anyway." You
Mm,
understand? And she paid the weight, and she did it in honor of something her mother has been doing from quite a while, for what I
wow.
understand. But carrying on that tradition, this is a sister whose mother's from the south, and carry on that tradition. And she went to the school, she made a contact, and she presented them with the bags and so on and so forth. And it opened up a whole other avenue, because this offers children an opportunity to expand their education and so on. You
and you have
understand?
no idea what a book bag means to certain children. Book
A
bag,
book bag.
a
Yes,
book
yes. The
bag,
things we take for granted.
a composition book, pens and pencils. These type of things are really precious. And even along the road in Rwanda, we stopped the bus, and one of our group members took some pictures, of
Some
um,
children
some children, and the tea farm and so forth and so on. And some came, two or three came very
by the
close and
bus
by the bus, and had some conversation, um, not real conversation because language barriers there.
were there. But they were opening enough to have this
Right,
meeting
this
with this group
interaction,
of strangers.
right. And uh,
Immediately,
Joan said, wait, and she rushed out with two book bags and gave them to the children. and you could
they
see
lit up like a
the
Christmas
faces
tree.
lit up.
They lit up like a Christmas tree.
Lit up. We couldn't say anything. We couldn't communicate with language,
Yes.
but it was
The
really
actions, yeah.
yes, yeah.
Mm.
So we go not just to ours is not a party trip. Ours is not to have a good time exclusively by partying and taking pictures of, but also to see what we can do to help local circumstances.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love
So
that.
that has been part and parcel of all of our trips. But we really endeavor to make those linkages between our communities so that we can help grow one another.
I really love that. Mr. David Thomas says, Ni, the governor of tourism in Ghana.
Yes.
Okay, you
That's
laughing,
our
so that means
guy.
it's a story.
That's
You're
Yeah.
our
laughing,
guy.
professor's laughing, so that means there's a story behind it.
Oh, there's a
big
long story.
behind. There's an
Yes.
ongoing story behind that.
His name is Nilai. And
Nilai, okay.
yes. And I don't think there's any place in Ghana that he doesn't know.
Not just any place.
And he opens
Anybody in Ghana
anybody.
that he doesn't know.
And he opens doors that were never meant to be opened by
Wow.
ordinary people.
Wow.
Listen, including we were leaving very early one morning to go a distance, a real distance. And people, older people, I gotta go
Right.
to the bathroom in the early morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. He tells this bus driver to look, take this detour and go this way. And pulled up by a shopping mall that was closed. A shopping mall. And
He got
had
it
them
open?
open it for us to use the bathrooms. I swear to God. People couldn't believe. But this is the kind of, these are quality guides that we have. You understand? So they're not just saying, look, we do this because we are paid or hired to do this. They genuinely look out for us, which is why we also say to people, once we're there, you have to listen to the direction of these guys. They understand the environment we're going. They understand what is safe and what isn't safe.
Yes,
So
yes.
so we may be bringing you here, but once we reach this area, you have to listen to the dictates of these guides. We put you in their hands.
Yes,
You understand? And we take that very seriously.
Yeah. But those with different agenda, have their own personal agenda, and having your agenda is fine, but you have that personal agenda on your own personal trip.
Yeah, because
not
having a
jeopardize.
personal agenda could put us all at risk because
That's
you
right.
don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
but Nilai, to add further to his fame and and glory, we were having trouble getting visas
for Ghana.
For Ghana, the first year that they were doing things online, it was really a very difficult process, and we got closer and closer and closer to the point of departure, and he picks up a telephone.
Mark, before you go further, not just having problems with the visa, it required us to mail out our passports to DC. So not only did the visas not come, our passports were not here. So we couldn't travel to Ghana, we couldn't travel to Senegal, we couldn't travel, and coming just within a few days of that, people were really panicking. We call in, we write in, no responses. In steps Ni, and what did he do? Mark?
He just made his call.
And
instantly things opened up for it. And when we got there, he made sure that we saw the Minister of Tourism. For all of Ghana.
Wow.
Not the secretary,
the minister.
The minister for tourism of Ghana. We got to see.
You got to meet him in person.
Last year, Omowale had a problem. And he said, wait, don't worry about it. Just come. I
couldn't get the stuff back in time. I couldn't get my visa on time. And I says, I am not mailing my passport to DC because I don't want to be stuck again. He
Yeah.
said, look, just come. He says, I'm going to give you this person's email information. Just write to him, tell him niece and such and such. And I did that. The person responded. He says, no problem. I want you to come with X, Y, and Z. And when you come to the airport, you just ask for me as you come in.
Wow.
And he was outside on the tarmac waiting on me as I stepped off the plane. And he says, you're Omowale, yeah, and you. And he started to laugh. He said, come with me. I swear. He said, come with me. And he took me right up front through everything and had them deal with the visa right then and there on the spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
that was commander. He was the head of security of the entire airport.
That's right.
Head of security.
So again, the contacts that we built over years, it's really important to respect it and treat them in that way. Not that you're looking for anything, because you should offer this respect to everyone, no matter what they do.
That's
a vendor on the street or anyone, you have to give them the same respect. But we've been fortunate enough to have people step in, like Mother Ayeni did on our very first trip, and make the trip possible. And it continues to happen. And this is why when people say the Africans don't care about you, I just have to look at them and laugh. You know, I said, I says, you go and try that in Europe or England or where any of these places. We have been made to wait on the airport for 26 hours, even though I had a Commonwealth passport at the time, because they didn't want me to enter England for a certain amount of time. I mean, I can go on with my travel experiences in Barbados, being put in jail overnight because a green card was left in Grenada. I mean, and I can go on and on. That's right. Put in jail overnight because an American green card was left on a dresser in Grenada. I had my passport, I had my ticket, but American green card, not having it on me, landed me in jail in Barbados.
Can you imagine?
You understand? So I said to people, you do not take your connections lightly. Treat them with respect.
And don't mess up those connections for others.
That's right.
Mess it up for others.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
We are ambassadors. Yeah.
Donna Morgan says, Joan and a few of us will be sponsoring some of the children in a school in Kenya for $8 American for one child a year.
There you go. Yeah, they met among themselves and decided that they were going to sponsor X amount of children. Again, because of what they went and what they saw.
Yes.
And they want to give back in some way, and this is their way of giving back. And we're extremely appreciative of the effort.
Absolutely.
That's a beautiful initiative.
Appreciative of it. Yeah.
Okay. And I see here an elder of mine logged on. His name is Kwabena Nyameke. And he says, Brother Omowale, I think you probably know this brother.
Kwabena?
Right? Kwabena, right? Lived on St. Martin, lived on Curacao, has touched the continent many times, big activist. I think you either know him. If not, all of you need to meet, including you, Professor Payne. I'm going to share the contact details. You all need to link and talk, But this is an elder of mine. We go back at least 20 years.
Good.
Okay, at least 20 years. And I met him in Holland, and he's always been, behind of me to learn Papiamento, visit the continent, learn. He's always been one of those. You understand? So I really give thanks for him each and every time. We have also Uwa Abontum, and he's looking in from Florida. Greetings, King. And then Mama Rita says, yes, it is very encouraging. Good job, guys. Our elders are proud. And they said Africa don't want us foolish talk. Continue that journey. And then of course, we got the comment from Donna Morgan, right? Tell me something. When it comes to the orientation, those classes, is it done in person, face to face, or is it a mix?
It's a mix. We try, because we want people to get an opportunity to meet and see each other and interact. You understand? Nice. Break that ice. But most of the orientations are online, so we log in at a particular time and so on and so forth. and we'll have a further conversation about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
our orientation started in person,
But COVID changed much of
but
that.
COVID changed that
Natural.
for either better or for worse. So then we started to have them online, and it became more convenient because this year one of our travelers is based in Hawaii.
Hawaii. She came all the way from Hawaii.
Yeah.
Wow.
And most of us are in New York City. There's
But
some
not
from
all.
upstate New York. Omowale is in New Jersey.
One in Maryland.
One's in Maryland, and these are quite a few hour drives. Dave is from Long Island, so we're from all over the place. But when we have meetings in person, the guy even from Maryland drives in. The couple
Oh.
from Poughkeepsie,
Upstate
New
New
York,
York.
upstate New York, drives in. Dave from Long Island drives in. So there's a commitment, and that tells you that these are the people who are committed to the ideals of the trip.
Yes.
Obviously, our person from Hawaii could not drive in. She couldn't even fly in each of the time, but she turned out to be one of the real bright lights of the community, and she was in her 80s.
Oh.
Yeah.
But she was also in her glee.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Enjoyed
She enjoyed and participated and was a spark within the travel. So, when you talk about age, it's not a barrier to one's enjoyment.
That's
in terms of these travels. It may be, if we have people in their 20s, it might be a different feel because there may be different interests.
More impatient, they're more in different interests. Yeah.
But
this is why we also try to emphasize people speak about what their issues and concerns are. Because one person may not be able to walk as much as another person, whether they had an issue with a leg or hip or back or whatever. But us knowing it helps us understand how to structure some of the things we do. So instead of placing somebody on the third floor of a hotel, they may instead get a first floor.
Yeah.
Instead of, so simple things like that.
Even dietary.
Well, we ask people about their dietary needs because people have allergies to different things.
Correct.
So, but us understanding it helps us know how to protect people's interest before we step into a place. You understand? So are there certain kind of stuff used in preparation of foods and so on and so forth? That's the kind of stuff we put out. But it's us looking out for each other that makes for a safe trip for the group. You understand? So it's not about hiding what your issues are. It's about sharing it so we can better protect your interest.
Correct.
Like some person who was allergic to shellfish.
The shellfish.
On the very first
trip.
On the very
first day in Senegal.
Oh my gosh.
We went to a restaurant, a local restaurant on the beach. And everybody was so excited. The food is smelling so good. And Mark and I decided, let's walk up to see where the food is being prepared and how it's being prepared.
Okay.
But because this person had shared with us their allergy, we looked and we realized that they were basing the fish in the same brush and so on that they were basing the shrimp and lobster and so on. And that was a no-no for someone with a shellfish allergy.
Of course.
But you understand, but her sharing this with us helped us say, look, we know the food is enticing, but you can't eat here.
She said, I forgot. And it could have been a huge tragedy.
Could have been
that's right.
Huge tragedy.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I don't think anybody had an EpiPen at that time.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Kwabena says that you all met in Holland, Brother Omowale.
We met in Holland?
In Holland.
No.
So I don't know if that rings a bell.
I have never been to Holland.
You've never? You sure?
I was born in Aruba.
No. So you never visit Holland?
No.
Ah, okay.
There's a different Omowale.
Perhaps.
Unless, well, anyway.
Be nice, Mark.
And then And then Donna Morgan says,
Bakari, that's the other thing you got to learn how to do. You got to rope some people in before they step out of line. So.
Yeah, Mrs. Morgan is there. So,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
doesn't matter. I
so
said
he,
rope them
so he
in,
has
so.
to deny. No, I never been there.
you know, I don't think I'm qualified to be part of that conversation. This goes beyond me, you know. But Donna Morgan says, no, she's in her 80s. She's not in her 80s. She's only in her 70s. I believe that's a sister from Hawaii.
Betty.
Okay,
Yeah, from
okay.
Hawaii,
Yeah.
right.
All
Yes,
right.
definitely. Okay, no, but this is really inspiring, man. Honestly speaking, from so many different levels, you know, the cultural aspect, the safety aspect, the objectives, you know. One thing I'm curious about. So the group goes to the continent, immerses itself in the culture, builds relationships. Have you been told or have you learned of any import export activity going on, that like somebody who visited Ghana, right? They made a connection and now they're importing and trading
Yeah,
with
there's a
purchase and
number.
return?
There's a number who have been doing that in different ways. Some do it on
Nice.
their own and so on. Some in other ways. But I also know of some who have been going back and trying to get property to build.
Oh,
You
tell us
understand?
about that. Tell us about that.
So people go and they see for themselves, and some have different interests. Some want to set foot back there. Some go back on their own. You understand? Yes. We've had, like I said, quite a number that has made 3 trips with us already, and that says a lot. You know, because it's not necessarily cheap. It's a commitment.
Yes, yes.
So, but people continue to do business and trade. They go, they meet certain vendors and what they want to do. Some with shea butter, some with the beads and so on, some with the cloths. So different people do different things, you know.
Some with the art.
Some well, me with the art. My thing is the art, as you know. So I always travel, always meet with local artists and you know, see what I can do, build relationships, promote some, you know, that kind of stuff. So
yes. No, that I love that. I love that because there are different spin-offs,
yes,
you know,
exactly.
as a result of the trip. Yeah, yes. I love that. I really, really love that.
Yes.
But Jen,
before you go, one thing I'm gonna say, and I hope your mom is still on. I'm looking forward to you taking your mom. You understand? Or joining. No, seriously.
That sounds great.
There are some people, you know, would benefit, not just benefit, but it would have so much to offer, you know? And your mom is one of those persons. And I say that with all seriousness, you know? So
well, let me put it this way, right? Let me put it this way. It's just a matter of time.
Okay.
Okay, it's just a matter of time. And the reason why I say so is that on my birthday in 2016, my mother gifted me a ticket to Ghana.
Oh, God.
Right?
Great.
She gifted me the ticket to Kemet. You see? So even though she wasn't able to go, right?
She made it possible.
And yeah, she made it possible for me.
Turn the tables now.
There you go. That was just a matter of time. So after I went now, I do my little exploring, right? She see that I come back, 10 fingers, 10 toes. She's like, okay, it's good now. You understand what I'm saying? So, but it's just a matter of time because based on what I shared with her and everything, you know, identifying the similarities or rather the continuities in the culture and the people and everything, right? I know for a fact that mom is ready to go.
Yeah.
You understand? As a matter of fact, my queen even told me, she said, even if she just has to land in Africa and then transit someplace else, it's fine, but she'll
do more than land. She'll do more than land.
You understand? So but that's something that we are definitely looking forward to. I embrace the assignment to organize a trip, right? To go to the continent. I embrace that. Of course, I'll be depending heavily on your experience and guidance.
That's why.
But that's the idea, you know, because I would feel selfish, right? That I went, I saw, I was able to, I would say one of the first persons in my family to return to the continent since they pulled us away. You understand? And I'll tell you this much, Omowale. I went with a picture of my aunt who passed away. You understand? Because we were very close. And I want to believe that she would have also liked to be on that trip.
Yeah.
You understand? So even when I went to Cape Coast Castle, when I went to the different place, I'm like, hey, Tanti, we here.
Right.
Check this out. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's important. And before you came on, Professor Navi was talking about the importance of an African person in the diaspora who should visit. All right, even if it's once in their lifetime, they should visit the continent. We need to see where we came from. Okay, we cannot allow anyone to shape our perceptions. We can't depend on corporate media. We have to go for ourselves. We owe it to them, and we owe it to posterity that they know where we came from.
I just want to add one thing to that. It's not just where we came from, but it's part of the dictate in terms of where we are going to. We don't realize that some of the fastest growing economies in Africa, we don't realize that in spite of what is being said or portrayed in terms of the most fertile land available still on the continent, the availability of resources still on the, and this is why these wars are being waged by French and these other people to hold on, because they cannot sustain themselves without taking. So while we travel, one of the things, Mark, I tell you, we see is other groups going and making permanent, their permanent residence. Because they realize that that's where the future is. And we're talking about Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates,
we're talking Europeans,
but we're talking about all through Europe, we're talking about all over Asia, both China and India. You understand? And making sure they entrench themselves as deeply as possible, because you cannot talk about the future of technology or industry without talking about where do you get these resources from.
That's right.
So if we're talking about building, and we still picturing Africa as these third world countries, and not realizing the enormous cities and the architecture and this kind of stuff that's happening. So we are being left behind because we're not in communication with home.
That's right.
You understand? So it's important that some of our minds think in terms of when we build in businesses, to think in terms of those linkages. That's where you're going to get your raw materials from.
That's right.
Or that's going to be the avenue in terms of you, the whatever you're developing in terms of spreading. Africa has a budding technical technical sector. So let's not underestimate the possibilities that lie there. And for people to know what's possible, we have to expose them to it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's like one of my, a brethren of mine spent a lot of time in Africa also. And one thing he would always tell us is, when you go, you know.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. When you go, you know. You take out all of the stereotypes, the taboos, the myths, everything, the propaganda, everything. Because then you get to see for yourself. But you have to go with an
open mind.
You have to. Yeah. You have to. And you know, I can resonate so much with what you said with the orientation, right? Mm-hmm. Because when I was getting ready to go to Ghana, I was reading the news. I was trying to just follow some just like in Kemet also. I was trying to understand some of the unpleasant words in Arabic, because you know you're going to come in contact with those persons. So just in case they want to talk about you, you have an idea of what they're talking about. And let me tell you something. I started trying to eat with my right hand. I started practicing with grabbing the food, because you know in some places using your left hand might not be too pleasant. Yeah. So all of those things I try to, familiarize myself with, because at the end of the day, and you said it perfectly, while I am from there, I am still a visitor. Yes. And I can't come with a presumption that I know and they must accept me for who. Yes. No, it's not that. Especially if I want to come closer to my roots, I have to leave behind my Western ideas.
Exactly.
But here this last point. We went to a restaurant, right? And we are getting some food, right? And I truly understand even better my love for rice. I understand it better now. There's a group of Ghanaian brothers, right? and they're sitting down eating, drinking, of course, and the waiter brings fried rice, chicken and rice, meat and rice.
Mhm.
And
Plenty
they
meat.
had like five, they had like 5 to 6 different types of rice. And I just looked at them in amazement, like, you know what? I can see the connection now. You know, I can see the connection because you can ask my mother, you ask anybody, I'm a rice lover, you know?
All right, you and I are of the same kind.
I'm
You and
telling
I.
you, same stock, you know,
There you
same
go. There
stock.
you go. There you
And
go.
I'm just watching in amazement, you know,
And let me
watching it
say
because,
this:
uh-huh,
rice is not even the staple of Ghana. You're not in the rice belt.
No,
That
no.
rice belt. So if you're having
Senegal,
that
Gambia,
issue in Ghana,
with the wall off, with the jollof rice,
oh, let's not talk
listen,
about that.
I was gonna ask.
the
That was
jollof
that was
wall.
one of my closing questions, you know, because let me see. I don't have much pressures from the continent tuning in, so it's kind of a safe space. I was gonna ask you, who has the best jollof rice?
Well, let me take that one. You call it jollof rice for a reason.
Uh-huh.
It's the rice of the Jollof people. Where
There
are
you
the
go.
Good
Jollof?
point. Good
Where are
point.
the Jollof? They are the Wolof. So that's the
Good point.
Senegambia. When you hear, and I'm going to make a lot of enemies with this one. When you hear Ghana and Nigeria talk about we have the best, they're fighting for third and fourth place.
Oh,
Third and fourth place. I'll say it again.
Mark, I don't
Ghanaians
think you'll
out
be
there,
allowed to go to Ghana after this.
Ghanaians out there, stop. Nigerians out there, stop. The
People from
origin of
Ivory
the and
Coast, stop.
it's called Chebogen,
Chebujen
Jebujen.
or Benetim,
or Benechen.
or
Yes.
in Gambia and Senegal. That is the origin of it. So
Okay.
these are the parents. These are the unwanted offspring that come
Be kind, Mark. Be
and
kind.
no, I can't. I get irritated with that type of
No, but you know,
conversation.
the children always grow up and thinking they can do better until the mom put them in the place. Is that kind of stuff. But yeah, when you go Senegal and you go Gambia and you eat Chebujen or Benechen, then you'll understand that it's
Oh
not even an
my good.
argument
Yeah,
anymore.
Wow.
yes. A distant third and fourth.
And we love our Ghanaians now. Don't get
Yeah,
me wrong.
don't
We
get me
love our
wrong. Yes,
Ghanaians, but
and okay, and I'll even eat the jollof rice. I'll eat, in Ghana. I'll eat the jollof rice in Nigeria, but it has no comparison.
now,
None.
when you want to talk Ghana, you talk some pounded yam and this sort of stuff,
Okay.
the
Yeah,
plantains.
they're planted. They're usually
Yes, the
planted.
plantains.
The kenke and the wache
Okay.
but yeah, and every area has its own
Own
special
version.
That's
food.
right. Yeah.
And so we should celebrate that.
That's
you
true.
know
I
you
agree.
know we celebrate that, but that other conversation, these are newcomers to rice anyway. You know, these are newcomers to rice, and it's would be interesting to begin to look at the major dishes of each specific area.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's a really good exercise, because you find out who you are, and what you're about by looking at those types of things, and where meat is a priority, where planting is a priority, or
Or
where
fish.
fish is a
Yeah.
priority, you know, and it's really a fascinating thing. And I think Omowale opened up a really good discussion in
Yeah.
terms of food colonization,
Yes.
that we really have to take a look at.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I totally agree. I totally agree. Well, Kings, we are coming on to the end, right? I know I did say 90 minutes. I know I did say that in our
It's all good. It's all good. There's definitely
preliminary,
enough time.
but I was able to somehow get as much, out of you all. And I know we didn't even scratch the surface, but I truly enjoyed today's conversation. It was really, really a pleasure. And yeah, I just would like to ask you all, to share some of your closing remarks with us, starting with you, Professor Payne, and then Brother
Okay.
Omowale.
Okay. I thank you. And I'll close with what I started with. I think it's our objective, our task, our collective task, all of us, to build bridges and deconstruct and destroy the fences that are between us. Let's continue on this path, and may God bless you all.
All right, give thanks.
I will say that, from my years going back and forth to St. Martin and the little wars between the French and the Dutch and who's better, and we talk about the same family. You
Same
understand?
family.
And that's indicative of the same issues we're dealing with here. And I think I would like to know that my position, for anybody who know me as I've traveled through St. Martin or anywhere else, remains the same. We come from a larger and more noble people, and we have much more in terms of our history and culture than we are aware of. And my aim is to spend time making those linkages and helping people reconnect to themselves, to see the greatness of themselves, and their children could see the greatness of themselves, so they don't have to turn to the Netherlands for that, or they don't have to turn to France for that. I mean, it's there. And so this is what this is all about, bringing us together. Wherever you were dropped off on this earth, we have a larger connection, a larger history, and I think we need to tap into that. And that's what I want my contribution through this to be.
Well said. Well said. Well, ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, I want to not only thank our guests for spending time with us today to share about, of course, their program to the continent, to introduce and hopefully have our people develop a greater appreciation for our culture and heritage, of course. I want to thank, the family who tuned in today from Africa, Caribbeana, Estudinian. My mom, Rita Pandaflet, my queen, SXM Academy SBO, Aminata Kujabi, looking on from Gambia. I suspect I'm gonna get feedback from her on the whole Jollof thing, so I'll keep you posted. All right. Of course, Donna Morgan, Mr. David Thomas. Right. Give thanks for tuning in. Ua Abantum, thank you for tuning in. Kwabena. Always great to see you. And of course, let me see. Yeah, that's everyone. Thank you so much. And I will round off by saying this. When I went to the continent in 2016, and I spent time in Ghana in particular, I truly understood the prophetic words of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey when he said, I will never give up a continent for an island. That those words came to life for me.
Well said.
Right? So, in the words of our prophet, priest and king, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. One God, one aim, one destiny.
One destiny.
Pleasant day, one destiny. Pleasant day, Father, one love.
One love.
One love.